What is perplexing to me is how we have these Aronia low-scape mound. So we've been chasing this for a long time. We finally, I think, have caught up, which is good. So we have great size, great availability this spring. You know, we were really cheating the size. The production crew went all out. We brought a bunch of liners in and really increased the plan. So you can see here the size that we're sending. So make sure you're communicating that. That's way different than what we were looking at in the spring. There's also a crop right behind this that's coming along real good. So we're going to have much better sizing for the spring. We just wanted to show this one off. Definitely, you know, at that landscape grade. So keep pushing those out there. I think that'd be a great lead-off plant because it still seems to be short in the market. So keep talking about that. So switching gears a little bit, a new one is, boy, that's a teeny weeny picture. So Cotonia Aster Autumn Inferno. So when you get a minute, you can make that photo bigger on your own if you want. But this Cotonia Aster is new for the first edition program. It is it's a little more upright, definitely, than horizontalis or piculata, but it's not like a divaricata where it gets really tall. So this is kind of a mid-range. What its secret weapon is the fall color. So it gets a little bit bigger leaf than what you're probably normally used to, and it's real waxy, and the leaf turns bright red, and that leaf hangs in there for a long time. The photos that I've seen from the fall color puts burning bush to shame. So this would be an excellent plant to use in place of burning bush where maybe you don't have as much room, or even if burning bush is, you know, they're starting to talk about invasiveness here and there. Some people might have concerns with that. This might be a great plant to turn to for that. It does get a flower. You know, it's a small pink flower. It does get a tiny, it can get a tiny berry, but both of them are more, you know, kind of inconspicuous. But it keeps its foliage very clean. It's got a darker green foliage. I think it's, you know, where a piculata can get a little trashy in kind of the way the branches curl in, it actually collects trash, like leaves and trash. This one here is going to be a little bit nicer plant, more formal type of Cotonia Aster. So brand new one out there. We got 500 of them. They're ready to go. See what you can do. Hydrangea Limelight, you know, we just wanted to show you a couple hydrangeas where we are. You can see here, these were cut back a while ago. They're coming on. They're starting to push some new blooms, but pretty much they're not going to be like a full heavy bloom with what's coming on. We have to keep trimming these back so we don't get flop. We don't get, you know, partially dried flowers in the mix because people get upset with that. So you'll see here that we'll continue to bud up and keep sending more flowers, but we just wanted to show you it's for us to ship this plant. It's all about, we want to make the size. We want really nice structure. We want leaves full to the bottom of the can. We have to do that by trimming. If we let them go, they get floppy, they get thin on the bottoms. So this is how we have to grow hydrangeas this time of year. You can go to the next one, vanilla strawberry. You can see there the same thing. It will probably send more blooms. Now, if you don't trim it, vanilla strawberries in full bloom, but we want to make sure you understand that if you got somebody buying this with expectation that they're going to get it full of blooms, be careful with that. They will bloom, but the ones that are planted in the landscape are going to be loaded with blooms. These are more about the structure. We want a good plant to transplant. This time of year, it's really hard to keep a hydrangea looking good for like an impulse sale where you would set it in there and people would walk by. If you try to do that with a flower, they're going to be floppy and hollow, and they just don't look great in a container that way. So So just a little bit on hydrangeas. Some of them have more flowers than others. If you have a major concern about your customer has to have flowers, full of flower, you can always ask the question. It changes week to week, depending on what crop we're shipping out of. So, yep. All right, let's go ahead and jump into juniper. Skyrocket. So we just brought some of those out of the field. So these are fresh dig root bags. So the way this process works is it's like a flexible bag that we plant the plant in when we plant it, and then we put that bag into the ground. When we harvest, which the guys just did, the growth was hard enough on the plant where we could take it out. So we take it out of the ground. You have to kind of dig it. We leave the bag on it, and then we put it into a hard pot, and that's how we sell it. We put a red tag. You can see the red tags. We hog ring those onto the pot, and the red tag is an information tag saying that when you plant this plant, you must cut that bag off. If you have a new customer that is not familiar with this, you have to have that conversation. If they plant that plant with that bag on it, it does not rot off, and that plant will die in a couple of years. So it's an extra step. It's really the best way we've found, though, to grow these junipers. Skyrocket has a horrible root system when it's left on its own. By using this bag process, we get a more fibrous root system. But if we rip that bag off and put it in the pot, we find we put too much stress on it, and then they could have even more trouble. So really, it's like, you rip that bag off and put it right in the ground, and that's the best way to be successful with it. That's how we have this program. But we got 250 of them. We'll pull more out of the ground if we need to. I think we got almost 2,000 out there. So we'll just keep pulling those out fresh as we need them. All right. So next, we've talked about fruit trees a little bit. So we did roll some peaches on. So there's Flor in there. She's working on her fruit stand. So she's getting her fruit stand set up front, and she's going to be selling fresh peaches and apples. But the peaches are the first thing to come online. You can see the list there. Bella Georgia, June Princess. It's definitely an early one. Rose Princess. Both those are early peaches. Alberta is a little bit later. Red Haven is the mid-August. The big stone-free one that everybody eats. Reliance is a little earlier than Red Haven, but Reliance is probably the most hardy in the series, and Flemish Beauty is kind of a new one that seems to do well. For northern markets, you definitely want to stay with Alberta or Reliance. Red Haven can be troublesome. Bella Georgia, the Princess are kind of mid-range peaches, maybe better suited for a little south. So, if you're new to the peach thing, we grew these for a wide range of markets. Just if you got somebody that's buying these things, just bringing them in, trying them, be careful, because some of them aren't particularly hardy in Michigan or even up here in northern Ohio. I mean, you can have problems with Red Haven in northern Ohio, where if you have the wrong type of fall or the wrong type of spring, you can split the trunks. So there's a lot of new stuff that comes with all of these. A lot of information out there on these. It's pretty easy to look them up on the web and get the info. We're not really growing anything in this whole fruit tree series that hasn't been around for at least a little while. So should be pretty easy to find info. Apples are probably a couple weeks away, nectarines, and then probably the last thing to finish this year will be the cherries, true cherries. So, but just remember too, when you're looking them up, cherries, nectarines, all that, they're all under Prunus peaches. So they'll all be listed under Prunus. So if you're looking for them, if you're kind of new to this game, there's all of those things are type of different types of prunus. So, but that's where we are. We'll keep showing you photos as they come on. But these peaches are ready to go. Physocarpa ginger wine. This is one that we've been out of for a little while. Been very popular. We're starting to come on. We got more coming on behind it. Pretty much the name is self-explanatory. You can see those different colors in there. We really brought this on and Amber Jubilee to offset the Coppertina. I know that some people still try to grow Coppertina. We do not grow Coppertina. It is a disease magnet. It gets powdery mildew horribly. That's why we chose not to produce it. This is definitely better breeding with the ginger wine. Has great disease resistant. If somebody keeps hounding you about Coppertina, I will tell you I have not seen a Coppertina that isn't totally defoliated by midsummer in the landscape. So there's really, in my opinion, there's no reason to go after that plant when you have better breeding. So ginger wine or Amber Jubilee, if you need kind of multicolored Physocarpa. Summer wine. So this one here too, we were a little thin for standard summer wine. Summer wine gets pretty big. So, you got to make sure you got the room for it. But you can see here, we got excellent shape, lots of breaks, full. Sometimes these can get pretty tired this time of year, but you can see here the guys did a great job getting these finished off real nice. So we got 800 there. Picea Little Gem, we've been in and out of this thing. Cheryl has a few hundred of them. We're still trying to figure out, this thing is very difficult to grow. We're still trying to figure out, we know there's a need for kind of a dwarf something, whether it's a Picea or a Chamaecyparis or something in that field. So we keep moving around. We were able to get some of these little gems to finish off real nice. We got a few other varieties that'll be coming on here in a couple of years, but hopefully you can take advantage of that. I know there's people out there wanting that, so Cheryl was able to get those on. Potentilla Goldfinger, they're actually still looking really good. This is a plant that can get tired in summer. Potentilla's native ranges, it loves the mountains, so it thrives at about 6,000 feet of elevation and higher, somewhere between 6,000 and 8,000 feet. We're nowhere near that here. So the summers can kind of really burn it up. But here you can see we grow them under high tunnel. That kind of helps it. It helps keep that foliage fresh and trimmings. So we have 250, which isn't a huge number, but they're looking real good. The best advice I can give anybody to grow potentilla in this range is it really needs a little bit of partial shade. It needs to have well-drained soils. It cannot handle heavy soils. So if you can give it a little bit of shade and well-drained soils, you got a good chance of having nice potentilla. Bruce Bale Tiger. You can see here, this is the time of year for the color. The color is just fantastic right now. This plant will lose that entire bract. So you see that big long stem, that reddish stem in there, that whole thing will drop off this fall. And then you'll be left with a couple of sticks. So this time of year, it's, people love it because it's full and stuff like that. You just got to remember when this thing goes dormant, it's not going to look like a lot. And then it's going to pop out next year with all this growth again. So, it's the typical sumac. It is native. Bailey's introduced this a long time ago. It's very tough. It does need room. It likes to kind of spread around, partially stonoliferous, so its roots will kind of grow along and pop up here and there. So you got to give it a little bit of room. But we got 250 that look like this. This is a great time of year to get this plant out. And it's very tough, if I didn't say that. Okay, so we should have put this last. Then,
I'm sorry.
then nobody would fall asleep till we got to the candy corn. So I was amazed at the amount of growth that we got on these candy corn. But after thinking about it, it makes sense. Candy corn it loves heat. Candy corn was really bred and introduced for the southern markets, not so much us as for places that were having trouble growing spirea that would burn up in the summer from the heat. Candy corn loves it. We had a good enough heat stretch where it was really up there, and they just turned on and they finished. So there's 1,500 there that are ready to go. You see the block there. They're cookie cutter through there. Changing a little bit how we're going to grow them. We're actually going to grow them in Columbus. Our liners did extremely well this year, which was very encouraging. So we had a real good rooting percentage. So we're really going to be able to beef that number up. We're going to grow them in Columbus, where we have a longer growing season, a little bit hotter. These were actually grown in Columbus. So that's part of the success. And then they were transferred up here to Huron once they got going. So that's kind of how we're going to have to do this program. We need more heat. I know a lot of people want this thing in northern markets, but don't be surprised if it does not perform well in northern markets. It really needs a lot of heat. That's really what makes it work. And then you can see there the different colors. You know, everybody's going gaga over that, but you know, just be aware of that. It's a heat-loving plant. All right, Texas Everlow. We haven't had Everlow for a little while. Landscape staple, we were able to get some more on. This is a 7-gallon. Don't oversell the size. You can see here we're a 7-gallon 18, and we're right there. So, but we got a limited number of about 500 right now. There will be some more coming on. We're probably not even close to having enough to meet the demand of the market. We're still working on that, trying to get those numbers up. But this is what we got for now. You can see there, nice fresh growth. So anybody you've been NAing for a while or saying we don't have, make sure you revisit them. Fuji Margard. We just want to keep throwing that out there. You know, 54-inch. So they're going to be anywhere from 54 to 60-inch. This one here is about 60-inch. We'll pull the best, biggest ones we can for you. There's about 1,000 of them out there. We'll continue to do that. You know, remember we did lower that price down when we changed to that 54. So, you know, they're getting a good value for a nice plant. Shining Sensation. This is a plant that we kind of brought on as an introduction a long time ago. We went away from it because we were having a lot of trouble hitting it up against Proven Winner with their Wigelia line. They all came out at the same time. We ran this through the PTW program. We decided to drop it, and then First Edition picked it up. So now they have it in their program. So now that we have more national exposure, more national program, we decided to bring it back online. So we have 700 real nice 2 gallons there. You can see there. It's very similar in growth to Wine and Rose. A little bit bigger leaf though, a little bit more glossy leaf. There again, it might be splitting hairs a little bit, but a great plant. We like it. Hopefully you can get some movement on it. Spilled wine, a little bit different animal, lower grower, spreader. You can see here we're into the next crops. So we have the Deco, which we've been talking about. That is your best value. And then you have the 3. So that Deco is pushing almost 24 inches low to the ground. That 3 is like a 15 to 18. We'd like to finish moving the Decos, but we know there's some people that just, you know, it's just how their SKUs are. They just have to have a 3 or nothing else. So we went ahead and got the next crop on for those, but we still want you to push the Deco. The Deco is the same price, you know, as a standard 3. There's no difference in price. And if they want to try to sell it as kind of a porch, kind of patio type pot, they can, or it's fine for landscape and do whatever they want with a pot. So that's what we got there. And last one is Wine and Rose, which we kind of touched on with Shining Sensation. This is the next crop of Wine and Rose that we put on. Those are turning on real well. You can see there we got some sporadic blooming. I wouldn't promise a lot on the blooms. Weigelia, most of their blooming's done for the year. You will get a little bit of sporadic bloom here and there, but be careful of promising a Weigelia will be in bloom when it lands. We're kind of past that point. So, okay. One other thing I wanted to mention, we'll probably show you some photos next week. We do have some large holly, Mansurvia type holly. So we had some prints and chinas and stallions that we put on at a special price. Danny just added them today. So if you have any questions on that or anything, you can get with Danny. But we just got some holly. We want to put some more pressure on and get those moved out. And we kind of started thinking about that last minute. And I'll get some photos for next week to show you. But we really got to get some of these Mansurvias moved here before we get into October, before we really got to start doing the next crops. Got to make some room, and they've been in the nursery long enough. But so if you got any customers you think might be interested in that, please get with Danny on that. Okay, that was a lot.